All right, so we just finished up the design challenges. The last thing we want to do before we start getting into the real configuration of the system actually is to go over the developer tools one more time. So again, NX Witness and NX Meta Video Management Platform, which is what NX Witness is based off. NX Witness is what we call a powered by NX system. It's built on the Meta Video Management Platform, the development platform. One of the most important things for NX Witness is being open. All right. The goal being, if someone needs to develop an integration, they don't need to contact us. They don't need to go through some deep partner program or pay $5,000 a year to be part of that program, or try and search out someone to find the development tools. As an open platform, we believe those development tools should be built right into the product. So the developer tools are that. They're built right into the product, right? So where do you access the developer tools? Infan, where do you access the developer tools?
From the client?
No. Nick, where are the developer tools?
I don't know.
What? I showed you guys. I showed you guys this.
Hopefully I can be trained to know where they are.
All right, so the way that you access the developer tools is to go to the server web admin interface. So when you install the server application, you always have the developer tools because they are in the server web admin interface, right? And how do you get to the server web admin interface, Infan? The IP address of a server with the port 7001. That's one way to do it, right? There's some other ways to do it. You can get to it from the client, right? You can get to it if you're logged into the system and you go to click on a server, then you'll see server web page in the drop down, right?
Yeah.
So that's another way to do it. There's one more way to get to the server web tools on Windows. Nick? Any idea?
NXVMS.com?
Nope. That's the cloud. Nick said NXVMS.com.
I don't know. What could it be?
The server tray tool on Windows, on the bottom right-hand task, your tray tool. So you can go there and go to server web page. There's those three different ways to get to it, right? So I'm going to go straight from the desktop here, server web page. It'll automatically launch a browser. You may see something like your connection is not private and attackers are trying to steal your information. Don't worry about it. We're not trying to steal your information, right? So you need to log in here with your user credentials for the system, right? If you're going to be doing this a lot, maybe good to save that password. So once you're in the web admin interface, what tab do you click on to reach the developer tools? What do you think?
Possibly for developers.
For developers, yes.
I'm not certified yet.
It's very difficult. You're not certified, but you got it. For developers. All right, right. So again, developer tools, you can give feedback. If you got any questions, that'll take you straight to our support portal. The generic events generator. This is for generic event, which we go over in the pro certification. So we're going to ignore that for right now. Then there's the API testing tool, the API changelog, and the API documentation. So API documentation, if you click on that, it opens in a new tab. This is the API. So API stands for Application Programming Interface, the server API, right? So let's go back to the training real fast. Video Source SDK is the first thing we're going over training. The Video Source SDK is a software development kit, that's what SDK stands for, that provides the ability to integrate virtually any live or recorded video source, so IP cameras, NVRs, DVRs, robot cameras, drone cameras, whatever, into the system, right? Even third-party MVRs and DVRs, or even integrating I/O devices, right? And motion detection information. So it's a C++ SDK. So if you don't know how to write in C++, find someone who does. Work with someone who does. It's really meant for like lower level developers who are dealing with device to device type integrations, right? To find it in the for developer tools, you go to for developers and then video source SDK. You see the get SDK button. You just click on it. It's going to make you accept the end user licensing agreement again. Press next, and then it'll download SDK.zip. So you can show that in your folder, right? And you can open it up and take a look at it. It is very codery. Okay, so if you click in and you look at the inside, right, then you can see there's include, which has some plugins, a camera plugin, different types of plugin for API plugin tools, right? And then you got samples, sample code, like how to integrate with Access cameras or Raspberry Pi Cam, right? And then you got a README file, which is the simplest README file in history. It just literally says this is the NX VMS camera integration SDK. Check out the plugin and check out the Access plugin for information, right? So it's really made for developers. If the developer doesn't know what they're doing, they can contact our support guys and they'll help get them started. But that's the video source SDK. The next one is the storage SDK. The storage SDK allows developers to read and write from to read from or write to any storage location. So it could be local, remote, cloud. So if you want to develop an AWS backup storage solution, you would use the storage SDK to do it, right? To create a plugin. All right. The storage SDK, to get to it, you go to the developer for developers, and where it says storage SDK, you do the same thing you did for server SDK, and you download it. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple, right? All right. Server API. This is the one that most people use to do integration because it's a REST HTTP API, right? This is the way, a REST API is the way that most websites talk to each other. So when you have like Trivago or like Expedia, they're basically connecting to all these different databases that are full of flight information and hotel information. They all use, my guess is they all use REST APIs to pull all that information to one central place. REST APIs are also used to like display stuff in the web, right? So you can basically you hook into a REST API to pull the data out that you need to display. A lot of websites now are built specifically with APIs, REST APIs, so that the front end can be completely independent of the back end, right? The benefits of REST APIs, right, is that they're uniform, they're web-based, they use the same protocol, HTTP, and so they also protect the system from, they basically obfuscate information. They're like a black box. So you can make a call to it and it'll respond, but you can't go any further than that, right? So it provides a level for the systems to talk to each other without having to have what's called semantic level integration. It's syntactic level integration. So I can say something it understands and it can give me a response. If I say something it doesn't understand, it can't give me a response, right? Whereas semantic, we have a shared vocabulary, so we know what each other are talking about all the time. So REST API, the server API I showed you already. Here it is. You got part of the server API, you got system API. That's for making system calls or changes to system settings, system-wide settings. The server API is really for managing things on a server level. The video API is really focused on pulling out video from the system to third-party interfaces or systems. So direct download, RTSP streaming, HTTP streaming, HLS streaming. The proxy API is a way to connect to the system. WebSocket is for transactions. Authentication allows you to deal with authentication issues with third-party systems. And then we got breaking changes that are listed. So breaking changes will show you all of the APIs that have been modified from one release to the next. We do our best to make them backwards compatible, but sometimes they aren't. So if you're developing something, or you've developed something and then it breaks with a new release, something in the API has changed. So make sure to keep up to date on breaking changes. All right, and the final one is the Metadata SDK. The Metadata SDK right now is not available in the 4.0 beta. It will be made available in the release, I believe. If not, there's one place you can get the Metadata SDK right now, which is the Meta Developer Portal. So we have Meta is the video management platform we use to create powered by NX Witness systems. If you join the Meta Early Access program, you're able to go in and see the history, and you can see patches. And in patches here, we have the latest builds of the platform overall, right? So Meta is always a few builds in front of whatever the released product is, right? A few versions in front of whatever the released product is. To get the SDK on Meta, once you've signed up for the Meta Developer Portal, you'll see there's a Metadata SDK here, and you just click and download it. And there's a lot of instructions inside of it, some code samples, a lot of information on how to create a connection between us and a third-party video analytic. The Metadata SDK for the first version is really focused on video analytics, object-oriented video analytics, because with the Metadata SDK, you can now draw on top of video. So you can get bounding boxes with metadata tags. You can do paths. You can do different types of drawing on top of the video. And we were constantly adding new features in there based off of who we're interacting with. So right now, we're working with face recognition, retail analytics, license plate recognition. A bunch of different companies are integrating into the Metadata SDK to show their data on top of video. And to pull that data, the other thing that Metadata SDK does is it pulls that metadata and it stores it locally next to the server. So for motion, like smart motion search, you can search by metadata tag and it'll update the timeline so you can see different colors based off the different metadata tags. So it's a pretty cool thing. We'll go into it more with the 4.0 release. So where do you find the developer tools, Ingfun?
Yes.
Where do you find them?
You can find them.
Where can you find the developer tools?
The web admin, the
Server web admin.
yeah.
So if you want the developer tools,
Mm-hmm.
what do you need to do?
Well, you need to go to the server web admin.
No. Let's say you have a blank computer.
Uh-huh.
You're a new developer.
Correct.
You want to get access to the developer tools. Or your developer, if you're an integrator, is asking you for the developer tools. How should they get them?
You have to install your system first.
You have to install NX Witness. It's really simple. You don't have to. You just install NX Witness, right? Or you install NX Witness and make it available on a web page for your internal team, and then they can access the developer tools that way. But as soon as you install NX Witness, you get the developer tools is the key point. So, any more questions?
No.
About no, they got it. You guys are sharp. All right. Next up, we're going to go into configuring the NX Witness system that we started to set up here. We're going to merge Nick's server together. We're going to start to program the system with events and rules, and I'll show you guys how all that works.